friends, I'm Rick and this is your Seat at the Table, and hey, welcome to the New Year 2024. This is New Year's Day, right? Monday. Another kind of a rare day for me. I had a little bit of an I went not as extended of a weekend as I did for Christmas, but like everything for me, I gotta cry and bitch and moan and rant. So this is your chance to run away. It's short. Anyway, little Missy's over here in the box. She's doing much better. We're letting her out quite more and more with the other kitties, but it's just simpler for, we have to babysit to make sure we're not wanting any of them to get into each other's grill. Anyway, we're sitting here. Still got myself some Christmas fudge left over. There was a hell of a deal. We go to a local grocery chain called Hy-Vee. Been going there since I was a kid, and I'm just really familiar with it and pleased with most of their products. And they got some decent fair prices and things like that. What they did is we went in Saturday to take care of a couple minor bills that cropped up, and they had a clearance cart. We call it the goody cart. So they put all the sometimes damaged goods. Usually it's highly discounted to get rid of it. So they had a whole slew of the Christmas stuff, including the fudge, and it was like $3 a box. So we had some friends over last night for New Year's. A co-worker of mine, Kevin, has been working for my boss for a little longer than I have. So the two of us are the oldest employees that he's ever had in his lifetime, because his wife goes on about it every now and then. And Kevin, going on 8.5 years now, working for my boss. Him and two other fellows went out to a really big community college to do their hoods, exhaust hoods for the restaurants. And they have a culinary wing, which includes like 15 or something like that hoods. So it took a couple days to get them all done. 3 guys, 2 days, about 26 hours between them. So he worked a good chunk of yesterday, but they still showed up, and I was grateful for it. So the wife and I made a batch of chili, and we brought in the New Year. It's easier to bring in the New Year when it's on the East Coast at 11. And you can call it quits for the day at 11 o'clock and not actually stay up till midnight local time. Because, I'm old. I'm still feeling the effects of it too. A little bit too much libation over the last couple of days. I acknowledge that, which is kind of the time of the year, right? Was in kind of one of those, I don't know if I want to do a video today or not kind of thing. So this past year's been pretty rough. If you're a big fan of Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro have been on they've been on some kind of bender of their own. They have really done themselves terrible justice, or their fan base terrible justice. I bought the 5th edition for Dungeons and Dragons a couple years ago, in part because I was running some games on using D&D Beyond, and everybody insisted, "Hey, you ain't got 5th edition. I don't want to play the older stuff." Blah, blah, blah. No offense, but this is my thoughts on that, and I'm being trying to be polite about it. There's nothing wrong with the old system. I'm just saying, right? This 2nd edition and stuff I got, Jesus, a lot of it looks brand new. And if you've never played a game in your life, or you never played a version of D&D, why would you know? Why would you know the difference between this, that, or the other thing if this is the one you picked up? I'm just saying, right? So WotC's really done a bad thing, a couple of bad things. They've been really driven to get this one D&D. They want Dungeons & Dragons to be a video game. They want it to be the granddaddy of all video games, an open sandbox, highly adaptable, highly modifiable game. But that's a lot. But there's also a core thing that their management just seemed to fail to grasp. That the roots, bread and butter of any game company today are people like you and I, who go out and spend our hard-earned money on physical items of this nature because we don't have... Look, no offense to video games. And video games have come a long way. I'm not doubting, I'm not saying they haven't, but there's no video game ever created, that can match and rival the creativity of the theater of the mind. So when there's a lot of people, there's a lot of on the fringes. There's a lot of discourse over of roll heavy, throw your dice, use the rules, as opposed to theater of the mind, where you already know all these things. You know what your character should be able to do and should not be able to do. So the necessary possible is as little dice rolling as possible is what the theater of the mind is. So you literally immerse yourself as the character you're portraying, as if you're conducting yourself in a play or a movie or however you want to spin it, and that's great. So you get this huge divorce when you try to create a video version of it, because the video game is still, no matter how flexible it appears, it's still hamstrung by these built-in blocks. The coding has limitation that the human brain, coding has not the human brain yet. AI may change that, quantum computers may change that, but not so much for you and I in the current way of things. So these things also, and I've said many, many times over the decades, the fact is I can take a book with me pretty much everywhere and read it at my leisure, and I can set it down and pick it up and resume where I left off on a regular basis. I mean, this one here been sitting out in my work truck for the past week and a half, and I've been slowly reading my way through it. So that is an example of that. And there's even some pages with some grease and crap on it now from getting stuff in my truck getting bumped up against it. I mean, the hazards of the job. But there's just something about, it's like brick and mortar stores. You can order things online all day long, but at some point in your life, you actually want to get out of your chair, go to a physical location and examine something in person, if for no other reason than the experience of doing that. Because there was a time when that was the only way, or damn near the only way, you could get anything, which is, I guess, not true, because I watched a video the other day that reminded me that mail order catalogs have been around a long, long time. So Amazon ain't nothing new. Sorry, Bezos, your idea wasn't new. Go back to talk to a fellow named Montgomery Ward about how that worked out. Anyhow, so they've done themselves a very bad disservice, and in the process, they've also done a couple of double ends on the base, on the fan base, including trying to revoke the open source, or the open understanding of now I won't call it OSR, but where you and I could create a product for Dungeons and Dragons and then actually market it and sell it and not have them cry. Where that's been conducive to all game systems since the get-go. The fact is, our favorite, Battletech, the Catalysts are doing a great job. Y'all are great guys and great gals working hard, and at the same time, y'all can't do it all. Y'all can't do it all. And you can't do it all. So you have an insanely large player base, of which some of them are quite creative and quite capable. On my channel alone, we have taken some reviews on some fan-based products for Battletech that damn well should have been picked up by CGL as a limited license thing, so it could be produced, even if it's in a PDF format, and sold via the official CGL access. It could still be a fan-based alternative, but the facts of the game, of the material in those things like Operation Lancaster, is so deeply thorough. It begs to be an official source book, in my opinion. Right? Just saying. Well, if you try to cramp down on that creativity, you allow these people to be creative for 40 freaking years and longer. I'm talking, D&D here. And then you try to change the rules at the last second, mostly so you can cash in. Because you're realizing you're missing out on all this extra revenue, especially when your own revenue isn't doing so hot. Isn't that right, Hasbro? Hasbro, as an overall company, isn't doing so hot neither, financially speaking. So they've screwed themselves. Meanwhile, we come up to the 40-year anniversary of Battletech. 40 years, man. I was 17 when this stuff started coming out. And I remember seeing battle droids or whatever the box was, when it first hit the shelves at Ivor's Dungeon, and then it disappeared. It was only there for a very limited period of time, and I thought it looked retarded. I didn't look at it very close. I'm being honest here. Just at a glance, I'm a Star Wars nut, so anything that said that was me thinking, sure, not for me. So a couple of years goes by. Now I'm hip deep in buying. Back then, I was buying Fast's Star Trek role playing game. I bought as much of it as I could, and I was getting Twilight 2000, which was a Games Designer Workshop, I think GDW product, a different product. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Okay, memory's not as good as it used to be. So I came into Ivor's Dungeon, which was the local game store run by this old man who looked a hell of a lot like Colonel Sanders. I'm just saying. I loved Ivor, but he really had a Colonel Sanders without the white suit. If he'd had the white suit, man, he'd have been hard pressed to go, yeah, how is this guy not related to the Sanders character, right? Anyway, he was a nice dude, and he knew I was a big fan of science fiction in general. So I'd walk by the Battletech display. They'd put up a new display, and I'd walk by it a couple times. I glanced at it, and I thought, yeah, maybe I want to look at that. They were also selling Renegade Legion and something else. There was a couple other products, along with some of the older Facet material that was up there. And I think Shadowrun was coming out about the same time. Don't quote me on that, but it was a lot of different crap. And Ivor goes, hey, you might like this. Have you looked at this? I mean, I know you walked past it because I watched you walk past it, which if you actually looked at it. And so on Ivor's, knowing his customers and knowing me, because I'd been coming into Ivor since I was, 14, 13 years old. As often as I could sneak a ride from my small town way east of Des Moines, where his store was, and not get in trouble for it. Wasn't until '83 that I got my own driver's license. Was able to just go myself, and then he'd moved to a different location at that point, and kind of this odyssey of moving around. He moved like 5 different locations in 30 years. Anyhow, so he said, "Hey, you might like this." So I went over and I immediately picked up one of the house books, and I believe it was House of the Owl. I think all 5 of the core house books were published. This was about 1987, because my very first Battletech product was that House of the Owl, and I bought it that damn day. So it was 1987. It was the year the bitch came out and hit the shelf. Damn, itchy nose, cat hair. Well, yeah, it's a good thing I don't have an allergy to cats. I mean, geez, we got a lot of... Yeah, it's little Mitchy. Little Mitchy looking bored. Itchy looking bored. Yeah. And a lot of cat hair. Now we got another stray running around out here. We got a big orange tabby that's kind of very skittish. Just ran in and out of the yard a couple times. I told the wife, says, see him put some dry food out. Problem is, we can't put dry food out and just leave it, because the squirrels, the birds, the critters, they don't last long. So you got to kind of have to see the cat coming, kind of, we're just helping. Yeah, frankly, if he moves on down the road, we wouldn't be too upset with it. I just don't want to find him up here on the street somewhere and have to bury his butt. And he's too skittish for us to try to catch and trap, and I'm not going to try. And at that point, at the most we can do is get him to the ARL, get him fixed, and turn him loose outside. And it's January now, as we are now talking about. It is now January 1st of 2024 officially. Right. So that Battletech game became a lifelong love. Even in the desert, the period of time that I dropped out for reasons beyond my control in many aspects, and financial reasons for damn sure, I didn't ever stop loving the game. I played it whenever I could get an opportunity, which was rare. I one time had an associate who had one of the newer rule books. I don't remember what version it was, and we played some impromptu here and there at the break table kind of stuff, using salt shakers and and ketchup packs and things like that for simulating stuff on the field. And much to the annoyance and or amusement of our coworkers at the time, and I never quite could bring myself to go back home and dig through all my stuff and pull out my stuff, right? He just had this one book and he was so proud of it, and we just, improv. And that's one of the beautiful things about Battletech is you just, if you have a basic set of the rules, you don't even have to have the entire rule book. If you just have the basic concepts and an understanding of how the basics work, you can turn, I got bowls of fudge. Here's my mech versus your mech. How simple and easy is that, right? So we are looking forward to a very productive year for Catalyst and some of these other game companies out there, and probably a very bad year for others. As in WotC, Wizards of the Coast, for example, I predicted they're going to have a really bad year this year. It's going to just continue getting worse for them. The only saving grace, or their only tolerance, however you want to look at it, is the fact that they have, Hasbro has some pretty damn deep pockets, so they can ride through some stuff. It's just about how determined are they, or things will reach a critical point where Hasbro will then will start to look at whether or not they want to continue holding the Dungeons and Dragons label. Maybe they want to sell that off to somebody else because it's no longer it's not money making enough for them, and that's on them. I mean, geez, we all know how much our pockets get hit on a yearly basis for our favorite game systems. So it's not that they can't make money. It's just that they've been putting out a lot of crap, but mostly they've been pulling a lot of crap behind the scenes that wasn't quite as good. And then what did they do? They've laid off better part of 1,000 people over the last year or two. Now, what do I know? What do I know? But in a limited creative pool of professionals who do what we do or do what they do. So you take the majority of these people who spend a good chunk of their working careers working for the most prominent game system on the shelves, and then you kick them all to the curb. Now, I have to wonder how many of them have a do not compete clause that they signed back in the day. You have to ask yourself that. Because, I would be hard-pressed to say, look, I spent my lifetime wanting to be this, and you fuck asses want to kick me loose and then tell me I can't work for somebody else? See you in court. See you in court, Chuck. That ain't happening. See you in court. Meanwhile, right? You just opened up a whole lot of other people to come out with their own material. So I suspect in the year 2024, by the end of the year, we will see a number of brand new game systems debut, courtesy of a lot of those folks who were working for creating Dungeons and Dragons and various contents for WotC. I predict that. And awesome stuff, man. I mean, sometimes that's what the problem, in my political opinion, here in America, one of our biggest problems over the last 40 years, thanks to President Reagan, right, is this ever winnowing field of competition. So when all your food, for example, is controlled by less than 5 companies, so 4 major companies controls 95% of food production and delivery and processing in America. Whereas opposed to that 20 years ago, there was probably 20 or 30 different companies. The competition is less. Oh, because it costs, and they save costs, and they get this, and they get that. So everybody keeps merging, and everybody keeps merging. But we start running into that dangerous era of having not enough competition and not enough options for the consumers. So when we see the same thing happen in the gaming industry, one of the problems with Dungeons and Dragons was, and I noticed this, I don't want to say golden age, but they had this silver age that during 3.5, the third edition, 3.5 edition, they have yet to surpass. They haven't had a success such as that system since. Fourth edition was more or less a bomb. Yeah, it sold. People bought it. I got a couple books out here, but I don't have the entire system. And why would I want to? Because when I first picked it up, because a friend bought the first 10 or 12 core books, and then he didn't want to run it, so he just kind of handed them over to me, and I ran a fourth edition campaign for a better part of a year, and using his stuff. And it was not impressive enough for me to want to buy it for myself. Not to mention the fact that it was a bit more pricier than the previous round of stuff, which is to be expected. But a lot of it was just a homogenized version of 2.0. So they'd taken it back to second edition and left that go out. Of course, the D20 system's the thing now, and it just wasn't as good. And then fifth edition came around. Yes, great artwork, nice looking books. It's funny how the game mechanics for fifth edition really follow third edition. And why was that? Because the fourth edition was such a radical change, most of us didn't care for it. They were shooting for, in my opinion, a crossover between a tabletop and a Magic the Gathering. Because they were seeing the massive success of Magic the Gathering and wanted D&D to parrot it in some ways. It's the same thing why Hasbro becomes obsessed with creating a video game, massive player video game for Dungeons and Dragons, because they see all those dupes wanting to play D&D, well, we'll just get them off of the books, so we don't, because the cost of the book and mortar stuff, the hardware stuff, the paper and the paper and cardboard is much more expensive than a video version at the end of the day, and it's not as productive, because that video version will reach across genres, it will reach across age groups, it will reach across people dynamics who have absolutely no interest whatsoever in playing Dungeons and Dragons as a sit-down game. So they open up a much bigger audience. So my personal opinion is that they should pursue that by all means, because that's what people want. People will enjoy it. I personally wouldn't, because I'm not paying them a fee and a never-ending series of fees every month to play. I'm just not going to do it. So to be dissatisfied by the program and all the bullshit, to pay them for that dissatisfaction is just ludicrous. I can't do it. So anyway, pursue with that, because who knows, they could come off with a very good system that's very appealing to a lot of people. But they should still back that up with the core books in paper versions, because that's traditionally how a game system works. Especially one with the legacy that Dungeons and Dragons does. And that perhaps was my other biggest complaint about the shenanigans that WotC pulled over the last year. Now, going the opposite side of that, Catalyst had a banner year. We were there, many of us Battletech fans were present when we had the Kickstarter program that went off the walls, and it blew past all expectations for CGO. CGO was floored by just how much and how many people supported, the Kickstarter for the Mercenaries packages. This is basically I don't want to say a renaissance, but it's a big kick in the quizits for the CGL team and for Battletech as a whole, because they now have a much deeper profit well, and they have a good chunk of money for investing in the next layer of products. I do see some issues though, because there's a mixed fan base about the Ilk Clan. There's a lot of mixed feelings about it, and this never-ending clan wolf being, the Mary Sues that never lose kind of stuff. But we're kind of committed to it now. They're committed to it. We have to bite the bullet and ride along with it and get through the Ilk Clan era for the next thing, whatever that next thing may be, which they may or may not even be thinking about at this point, because I suspect the Ilk Clan era will be good for another 4 or 5 years of traction. I mean, depending on what they put out. There are some questionable stuff that I've seen that CGL's put out. The only biggest real complaint I have personally, and I've mentioned this before with Catalyst Game Labs, is mostly their pricing on their older PDFs. When you can go and buy the PDF at a digital price of what the damn book costs brand new, as a paper book, as a paper hardback or whatever, No offense, Catalyst, that's bullshit. That's bullshit, and it's greedy, and you know it. You do. Especially if we're looking at PDFs that are not even, of your original origin. So you offer some PDFs and stuff that go back to FanPro. You know, no offense, but those FanPro items should be half price by now. We should be paying $12.50 instead of $25 for that source book. So you just keep it at that price because it's pure profit for you. The product's already been made, it's already done, PDF's already scanned. All it takes is 30 seconds to send a copy to whoever purchases it. Fortunately for me, there are some websites out there on the internet that you can get some of this stuff for free. When it comes to PDFs, you got to take everything, buyer beware. You got to watch with what you're getting because you never know what might be attached to something. But I've had some of y'all point me into some good directions, and there's one of y'all that's done a really huge solid, and you know who you are, and I'm not going to name you, but a big chunk of my PDFs comes from this person, knowing where a big honking library of this stuff happened to be situated. Meanwhile, I was looking for, just did post the video not last week I think, of the Wars of Reaving supplemental. And it was the first, like I said, it was the first foray I had into that era because I've completely gone for that era. And so there was a lot of unanswered questions in my mind, and this one was like, ooh, there's a lot of stuff. And I thought about doing a video on it, and then I got realizing I really want to read the main source book to see what that is. And I was lucked into, I Googled it. I just said, Googled free Battletech Wars of Reaving PDF. Bang. On the first try, there was a website that had access to it. Now, this one they offered for free. There were others, but you had to pay for them. So, right, I'm not going to pay a third party for a product. If I get their product for free, good for me, sucks for the people who made the product. Sorry, that's the way the world works. That said, if that third party website is selling a product that was manufactured by another person, another company, I have a tendency when it comes to gaming and stuff to go, no, because that's not fair. It's one thing, it's not fair to give away free stuff, neither, but we're talking older PDFs, older stuff that's no longer even in the same era, let alone the same company's manufacturing, and or if CGL, it is in CGL, but it's still in a much, what we're talking 3 eras ago, right? You had the some point there in between all the other crap. This was just a little sideshow. So, I got no problems getting it for free. But I'm not going to pay a third party for a product that they didn't earn or didn't have a right to, and I have no way of knowing if they, unlike RPG Drive-Thru, for example, we know that when we purchase things from them, a significant percentage of that purchase price goes to the people who produce and are selling the product. When you do it through a third-party site, there's no guarantee that that's going anywhere except in their pockets. And you'll never see any brand new stuff up, or very rarely do you see brand new stuff up. But any PDF that shows up on CGL's website within 6 to 8 months will be up for sale somewhere else on the internet. And most likely not in a way that benefits CGL. So to me, that is a kind of a personal line that I'm not going to go across. But anyway, we also got the Mercenary Kickstarter got off to a great start. We got a lot of new bubble packs, lots of new minis coming out, new novels and source material coming out. I picked up the Marauder. I use the term loosely novel because it's more like a novelette. It's only about damn thick. It's sitting on my nightstand in there. I started to read it, and then I got into the second book of Game of Thrones. I'm rereading through that slowly, and because it's been a while since I've read it, and I kind of want to read it again, kind of thing. It is what it is. So, as for my channel, y'all's participation with me has been awesome. We have hit 900 subscribers. We are 100 short of 1,000, which is, at the end of the day, is that I don't know, it's a mark. Once again, it's not going to monetize the channel very much, and which it's never been the whole point of it. It's just having a place for me to share my love of my hobbies, and we're looking forward to doing that. I am swearing to God I'm going to get off. We talk about New Year's resolutions. Swear and get off my ass and start poking away more often on my would-be game and getting the updated rule book finished. I'm like 80 pages, 90 pages into it. It's slow, laborious, tiring, mostly because I'm usually so damn tired. Once we're back to our traditional, regular, routinely griping moment here from the Fat Man. Yeah, so I had Monday off because of the Christmas weekend. So between Tuesday and Friday, I jammed in 49 hours, damn near 49 and a half hours in 4 days, right? And that's it's a little off or different because last week I damn near did 46 hours in 3.5 days. So, because I was hell bent on having last Friday off too. I wanted a 4-day week. So this week, every 2 weeks, I have a series of restaurants that come up on Friday mornings. They want their stuff done, their grease traps cleaned every 2 weeks, and so I just kind of put them in sequence, and you just do the route and round and bang them around. And of course, it's the new year, things change. So between the 2 weeks ago when I was out to this place called Fiesta Mexicana in Adel, Iowa, they were a block further north and had been for a number of years. So surprise, surprise, when I get there and there's a big sign saying, "We ain't here no more. We moved." They said we moved 1 block east. So I backed up out of the alley and looked over my shoulder, and bang, there's the big sign for their new location. So you think, okay, there's always a challenge when you go to a new location because it's set up different. So the old location, you pull up in the alley behind the restaurant, you open the back door by their grill and their fry tables and shit, and it takes a hose and a half. That's about 30 feet of 2-inch hose from the back alley through that door up under one of their tables to get to the grease box, which sits next to the dish machine. Couple minutes in, out, bing, bang. I've got it to a routine. So I get to the new location. I got video of this. I had to upload it and post it. Not that y'all want to see it. It's in the basement of the building. So to get to it, I'd come in through the back door, run a hose to the entire front of the building, and then down the stairs to the back of the building into an old room that's adjacent to a coal chute. And inside the coal room that feeds the coal chute is where the grease trap's at. The only good thing for me was that the owners realized this was going to be a pain in the ass. So they actually put what I call a pass chute. They cut a hole in the floor and they put a piece of PVC with a lid on it. So you just unscrew the lid, drop the hose down about 6 feet down. So you bring in about 40 feet of hose. So you come in through the back door into the kitchen. You pull the table, which is on wheels, away from the wall, exposing the pass-through, open the lid, drop the hose down. At that point, I can just take my tools and go downstairs, make one trip, do the thing, get back out, bing, bang, boom. Not so bad. Figuring all that out took a bit, so it took me about 20 minutes longer than I normally would do, and I ran up and down them damn stairs 5 times. I was sweating and kind of cheesed by that time. I'm 57 and fat, man. Nobody wants me running up and down stairs for stuff, right? So, just gotta love Fridays, right? So I'm in the middle of all this stuff, and I get a phone call from another client who hadn't had her trap done in over a year and a half because I got tired of playing with him. He'd always wanted Monday evenings, which, for anybody that listens to any of my bitching, I spend a lot of nights working Sunday nights and all night Sunday nights. So I'm usually not wanting to work on Mondays. I try hard not to when I have to work I'm out all, from midnight till frickin' 7 or 8 a.m. on a Monday, plus the work on Sunday that attaches to it, on average 11, 12. The last thing I want is to go dick with somebody's damn trap. And it's one punky little trap, and the guy cries about paying the amount that he pays, and he pays a lot less than everybody else we charge. And you get there, and every third time, he's left early. And he forgot to call, or he couldn't be bothered to call. I had to go get my kids, or my wife said this, or that. He's his own little restaurant. It's his own little cafe, so he can control his hours. Well, that sucks. And then he plays stupid, or he wants you to come every month because his numbers are bad. He needs it every month, but he doesn't want to spend the $80 out of his pocket. And so he'll tell you to come, and then he don't want. Well, dude. After about a year of that crap, finally, I got so frustrated with him, I just said, look, man, Miguel, you call me. You call me when you want it done next. I'm done with this. You call me or call somebody else because I'm not playing this no more. And over a year goes by, and I actually took his crap out of our computer because I figured he went on to somebody else. And sure enough, I haven't had it done. I've been waiting for you to call. No, you weren't. And I told my boss flat out, this is the score, this is the scenario. So I ended up spending another 35 minutes Friday I wasn't expecting to spend, but I ran over, and he was desperate enough to get that thing, because his plumbing wasn't working anymore, his sink wouldn't drain. And I thought, yeah, because it was bad. It was like meatloaf in there. It took me, normally it should take about 10 minutes, including hauling the hoses in and out to do this. When you say 35 minutes, that's a lot. That means a small 40-gallon box of crud so nasty and thick you're chopping at it and breaking at it to get it to go up the damn hose. And then it clogged my hose up 4 times. So I knew, that's just a further proof it was freaking bad. Anyway, we ended the year on a good note. The wife and I, financially speaking, our bills are paid. We've only got about 3 months left on our van, which will free up a little extra money, which is always grateful. Double up on paying my furnace payment, get that paid as fast as I can. Another year and a half at the current rate. Holding off buying another vehicle. Our van, I'm not going to kid you, the van's got issues. It makes noises up front. There's something going on with the fan belt. It's made this noise for 2 years now. And I took it into a mechanic, and he says, look, you just let it run until it fails. He says, you might as well just drive it till it fails and see how long it goes. And so we've gone 2 years with it, and there's a couple other minor issues with it. So we're due to get a replacement. It's 10, 12 years old when we bought it anyway. But I want to get this stupid furnace paid off first, but these interest rates as high as they are, this is not time to be buying anything if you can help it in any kind of large purchase, in my opinion. But I'm not a financial guru of any sort whatsoever, so for love of Pete, don't listen to me, right? So it is what it is. And my health insurance premium, because I get it through the open enrollment, has been reduced. It was $89 a month. Now it's going to be $56 a month. And, oh yeah, that's great health insurance, you say. Well, 600 and something of it's offset by that tax thingamabob. Then I'm not totally sure exactly how that crap's supposed to work, because it seems questionable, because they don't understand it. And none of these people I've ever talked to truly understand it enough to be able to explain it to me. I'm not not care for that. But that dropped by not quite half. That's another 40 bucks, 30 bucks in our pocket. And the Social Security Administration, my wife's on disability. She worked for 20 years. 20 years, and she has epilepsy. So when her epilepsy, her seizures progressed to the part where she was deemed a risk at her job, they let her go. And because of that, she was eligible to get on full disability. And there's a lot of people that like to stick their noses up or make fun or disparage the program. That's because you really freaking have no idea what the hell you're talking about and what it's for. My wife earned that 20 years of working her ass off, and her health has got to the point where she can't handle nothing. It's just too much now. So she earns this. It's only about $1,000 a month. That's the equivalent of what elderly people get. How the hell do they live off that? Honestly, if it wasn't for me pulling down an average of $2,000 to $3,000, on average closer to $3,000 a month in my take home, we wouldn't be able to do anything. Not on hers. That's why I said, well, gee, I'm going to have to work till I die. I got no pensions. I got no, mass money accounts sitting in the wings to cash in on. I mean, not majority of Americans don't. And pensions are thing of the past. Very few companies offer pensions now. It says 401ks. Well, them 401ks are a dodgy thing at best, especially since they are deeply tied into how well the stock market does. Isn't that convenient? So if you have a bad year on the stock market, you need to cash your 401k. You just got shafted, because that's the way they set it up. The really rich and clever people, right? Just saying. Just saying. So, new year, new games, old games, new friends, old friends. More videos to come. Lots of more videos to come. Until next year, or the next video. I'm Rick. You're not. It just irritates me to no end.